All right. So we're going to be going into the third game on New Aztec. It's going to be Snow versus PianO. I do love how beautiful the loading screen looks now, though. Yes, that stuff. All right, in the top position, in the 12 o'clock position, the yellow Terran. That is going to be PianO playing the ultra small windowed mode. And in the bottom right-hand corner, in the white, it is going to be the Protoss player, White as Snow. So let's see if Snow's got what it takes to snipe PianO. Obviously, Snow is a very good PvT player. He also specializes in killing people in PvP as well. But he'll do pretty well against PianO overall. I'm not sure what PianO's strengths are at the moment, but we've only seen him come out in TVZ, so I assume that TVZ is a strong matchup, and he's a lot less confident in the other matchups. You know, a decent player, but definitely not anywhere along the lines of some of the better players right now, including Light. I promise, guys, I will do the battlecruiser operational stream. I'll do the battlecruiser operational thing after this game, okay? I promise. Just because right now we're focusing on the game. We want to enjoy the game, and I don't want to get you guys too excited, you know. So the barracks is coming out. Looks like it is not going to be. Oh, it is actually going to be the 11-11. So we are going to be seeing the double fake coming out from Light. It's going to be probably a very aggressive push with 2 tanks, a vulture with spider mines, and a bunch of marines, usually about 6 to 7. So this is a very strong push early game, especially with these inverted ramps. It makes a lot of sense. Inverted ramps are so difficult to actually break out of once your opponent has control of the high ground. And what are they doing down there? What's going on? Apparently they're playing musical chairs on the stream over there. In any case, we are going to see the scouting coming out from PianO. Luckily, he's going to scout his opponent first, so that's very nice to see. We'll see if Snow goes for the more aggressive build, or if he's going to just go ultra safe. Because you definitely don't want to go for... Wow, that is going to be a 2-fact. So this is actually going to be a very aggressive play, I believe, coming out from the Terran player. But Snow's going to actually make that Zealot early on. And this is very nice because it forces your opponent to make some extra Marines. Oh, never mind, that's not a double fact. I'm totally wrong. That was a supply depot. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. And, oh god, the Zealot's scouting the wrong way. This is awful. This is awful. He didn't see which direction the SCV came in, so he's just guessing, and he's gonna guess wrong. This Zealot's gonna waste a lot of time and not put any pressure on PianO to actually make more Marines than necessary. And there goes the factory and the machine shop going down right now. Right now, it's mostly up to Light to it's mostly up to Snow to try to take control of this high ground with his first couple of gateway units. If he can take control of the high ground and push his opponent back to the low ground, it's a lot harder to push up that ramp, even when you do have that Dragoon, or when you do have that tank and you have a siege mode. But let's see, hiding in the tree. Can you see it? I can. I feel like there's like more gaps in that tree. Maybe like before in the non-remastered version is harder to see, but now that everything's super like clear, you'd be like, I can see you hiding behind there. So the name of this map is a Neo. Yeah, I thought this was Neo Aztec. Yeah, this is Neo Aztec. This isn't Uzi Sara. Be quiet, Edgewater. You're totally wrong. This is Neo Aztec 3-player map with inverted ramps, which I thought died out years ago. If you guys watch me cast GG together, like I was like so annoyed the entire time because everything was like all of the maps had inverted ramps, and I was just like, eh! But PianO doing a really good job, kills off that Zealot with just a single Vulture and scouts his opponent's expansion going up. He doesn't scout the tech going up behind it, which is a bit unfortunate, but at this point you expect to just see pretty standard stuff, maybe going up to about 3 gateways, getting his upgrades, as well as... wow, that was totally wrong. Start over. Normal stuff, you expect to see the Robo coming up and going up to the 3 gateways to get some Dragoons out. And looks like actually it isn't going to be the push out from PianO. He's just going to play it safe and drop some mines over by that 3rd base, be a little bit annoying. Just control the map and play a little bit more safe and standard. But Snow being really smart, he's read his opponent very well. He's got units in position to defend. And I lied, here comes a big push with all those Marines, it looks like. So PianO is going to start getting aggressive, and I think that is actually Starport going down, so we might see some follow-up drops coming up behind this. Maybe going for that same sort of tank Marine push we saw in the first game, while dropping with some Vultures in the back. But are these Vultures actually going to run by? I think they're actually just going to run straight by these Dragoons. 1 Dragoon on the ramp, which is going to be nice, and slow this down, but here come the mines down already. They're going to be playing it, but very nice micro so far from Snow. He's actually killed off quite a bit. The Marines are going to try to come in here in front, but they're late. They're not going to do any damage at all. And here comes the first dropship. This seemed not very well planned out by by PianO. Honestly, I'm not sure how many times I've said Light instead of PianO, or wrong player names, but if you guys just stick with me, I promise we'll get through this. But PianO actually, it looks like he kind of did the build that he did from the first, or that we saw in the first game, but it wasn't very well executed. He didn't really have Marines in the right positions at the right times. He didn't have a tank to push at the front, and was kind of late on this drop. So very strange opening, and it looks a little bit botched. Right now, Snow's in a great position. He's defended all the pressure from his opponent, and he's getting all of his tech up. Right now, he just needs to be careful of any sort of drop play. He's got a couple units out in the front, and I'm surprised he hasn't even tried to wall off his front at all. He's just going to rely on having Dragoons blocking off spaces, but he needs to quickly send some units in here. The first drop is going to come in. 4 Vultures dropping in here, not contested at all, and they're going to be able to get into this mineral line. A couple of Dragoons pulling back right now, and I think overall, though, a lot of these... oh, wow, those Spider Mines connecting with that. That's very nice. The Reaver may be able to clean this up once it gets a Scarab, and unfortunately, this Vulture getting stuck in the mineral line, it's going to go down. Not ideal at all for PianO, but he did get some damage done, and that's really important. And we're going to see some interesting drop versus counter drop play. We're going to see the Reaver play coming out the front, while more and more Vultures get dropped from behind. And this is very unusual. We don't see this sort of play, drop versus drop, going on, but more and more Vultures into the main, and there's 1 Dragoon to defend with good micro, definitely that could get cleaned up. But actually just a big attack coming at the front with the Reaver. He is going to be able to burst down this bunker really quickly, and I hope that siege mode is done. I don't really know if it actually is, but with good Reaver hits, he could definitely push this back. But is he actually being pushed back right now? There aren't a lot of Dragoons left, but big hits from that Reaver, it's going to do quite a bit of damage. And even a Wraith being made to try to push back this drop. Very clever coming out from PianO, but maybe it's a little bit too cute. Meanwhile, behind this, Snow taking a 3rd base. He's very confident in his ability to pressure the front here. This is kind of like the Beast special right now. You go for the Reaver drops, and while you take your 3 bases behind it. But unfortunately, it looks like Snow lost quite a few units in that exchange, and with this Wraith out, it's going to be hard to actually keep his opponent pinned back for an excessive amount of time while he gets up his tech. But some reinforcements coming in right now, and these tanks not supported by anything. These tanks are going to go down very quickly, and despite picking off a couple of the Dragoons are faster than tanks. They're going to catch up with these eventually and be able to snipe them. Even with the high ground advantage there, all the tanks are going to go down, and there's nothing left for PianO. PianO just falling apart in this game. He's only got 1 tank left, and with some good micro, we could definitely see the game actually just in right now. But I think that Snow might try to play a little bit safer, just bank on his advantage. He's got that third base. No reason to try to go in right now. Just extend his advantage, knowing that his opponent can't attack anytime soon. Losing 4 tanks this early on. Brutal as hell. The Bisu special without the Bisu skills. Yeah, indeed. Not quite on the same level as Bisu, but like I said, Light's build somewhat counters it. And going for the frontal pressure is a little bit unorthodox. It's been a little bit weird, but PianO is going to be going into that very heavy... I swear to God, I think I just said Light in the last sentence. Anyways, PianO is going to be going very heavily into production and just try to turtle. At this point, his only option left is just turtle super hardcore and just try to wait for a critical mass of tanks, because he's not getting outside of his base anytime soon. And actually, the double drop shit. Could we see something unusual like double Reaver drops or maybe even a Bulldog build? But oh gosh, this drop even being thwarted. PianO just has nothing. He's trying so hard to make something happen, but nothing's happening. Snow just always has stuff in position. Although, where is the wall? This is a little bit unusual to not have a wall over here. Even just like a partial wall would have helped him, but either way, that does get cleaned up. In my opinion, Snow could have lost less there with smart positioning on his buildings, but it doesn't matter too much. He's still in such a lead that there's no way that PianO's getting back to this game anytime soon, even with all these factories building constantly. It's not going to happen. Eventually, he is going to mine out this main. He's not going to be able to push out. And with all of the tech that's coming out from Snow, he's just going to be able to overwhelm his opponent with pure macro coming out pretty soon. So, just waiting on stuff. We're actually going to see 2 base carrier, or sorry, 3 base carrier, sorry, 2 gate carrier. That's not even the proper term, guys. I'm sorry, I just butchered all that. We're actually just going to be seeing carriers, which is a very nice way to go ahead and transition. When you're doing so well and you're this far ahead, you might as well just go for the carriers. You know your opponent can't hit a pre-carrier timing because he has like almost 0 tanks, and by almost 0 I mean he has like close to 10. But considering how many tanks died off earlier, it's gonna be difficult. And the double rates come in here trying to snipe these Reavers, but it's gonna be a long time before PianO, sorry, excuse me. PianO can leapfrog his way out. It's going to be a very, very long time. Even though carriers do take a long time to build, I'm pretty confident in Snow's ability to hold off right now and slow down the Terran from sieging up and moving out. Even then, like, you see, he even has so many gateway units. He could probably actually crush this with a good flank anyway. So it's not, he's honestly, there's absolutely no danger at all for Snow right now. A couple of these Vulture's going to try to run out here and get some damage done, but the micro is good for Snow, and he's going to be able to push this back. Nothing moving out right now. And I think PianO's honestly just going to try to take a third base, but if he knew that carriers were coming, he might not do that. But actually, SCVs being pulled, is that just... No, okay, that's the third base in the middle of the map. So smart play. But once the carriers come out, it's going to be much harder to actually deal with anything. Even 3 Stargates coming out, going to be able to make tons and tons of carrier. That's pretty funny, the tank getting stuck over there underneath the command center. Definitely, I think the scariest thing that like you could possibly die from in this game, like if you were like an SCV or something like that, is like a command center falling on you. Like, just imagine, you know, you're an SCV, you're just mining, you've got your LED boosters on your back, you're... That's the sound that they make. And then the command center just drops on your head, you die. But then you squeeze out through the crack underneath because you're actually a roach. And not a StarCraft 2 roach, like an actual roach. Anyhow, we're going to see a little bit more harassment with these Reavers. Gonna kill off that missile short, which is a little nice, but the Reaver does take a big hit, so it's gonna be difficult to actually drop anywhere else right now. But at this point, Snow's just trying to buy time. He's taking a 4th base, even a 5th base now. He's super confident in his ability to move forward. He's got the Gateway Explosion is going to be coming out pretty soon. He's got tons and tons of units with Zealot Speed finished, as well as carriers. Honestly, the carriers alone would just end the game right now. Just launching the carriers over here by this base would be enough to straight up end the game, cause the unsiege, and then just roll over it with all the Zealots that he actually has. It's going to be really beautiful. Oh, that was actually a beautiful mine hit. All those units clumping up really nicely, and that's what happens when you don't patrol move, guys. Always patrol moves. And so the first Science Festival is out, and it's very clear that PianO has misread this entirely. He's expecting Arbiters to come out with this no Goliaths in sight, and I think as soon as these carriers show up, it's gonna be basically GG. There's 2 Goliaths that may be able to push this back for now, but honestly, when you know your opponent has carriers up already, and as soon as he scans these excess bases and sees that his opponent has up to 5 bases going and tons of gateways, I think PianO's gonna know that he's in trouble. He's gonna try to stay in the game anyway, but so far not the greatest micro coming out from Stowe. He needs to be careful about how he micros these carriers and make sure that he doesn't get too many free hits coming in. He needs to pick off the Goliaths, maybe, or I mean, I guess you can technically pick off the tanks and then rush in there with a bunch of Zealots. Either way, he needs to just be careful about how he's microing these, make sure he doesn't take too much free damage. He is going to be focusing down these tanks on the fringes so that he can just run in, and looks like the big battle might be coming up pretty soon. Maybe he's waiting for a couple more reinforcements, getting a better arc, and oh, these tanks way out of position. One of them is going to go down, maybe a couple more, and this is honestly like a really bad situation to actually be in as the Terran. This is a very bad position where it's very easy to flank you on both sides. And there's the unsiege. I wouldn't be surprised if Snow goes right now, but instead we're just going to stay really far zoomed out, and we're never going to actually see things. But mobilizing right across the map now is the Terran player, and is Snow going to actually go? He's not going yet. He's still staying back. He doesn't want to actually go in here until his opponent gets further across the map. I think that might be a mistake, because he had a definite timing to just collapse on that and trade out Zealots for at least some of these Goliaths or some of the tanks. And the way that I always put it is, if you can trade for gas units in this matchup, you're doing well. Like, if you trade Zealots for gas units, that's solid. Killing off Goliaths, killing off tanks, and losing, you know, like 2 or 3 subgroups of your Zealots is really not all that bad. That's actually a pretty nice, easy trade, but Snow just continuing to kite back and retreat. And eventually he will wear down this army, but I don't know if this was the right move. He honestly needs to just, he's nearing max, he just needs to go. He can't continue kiting back like this and allowing his opponent to get in a good position. At this point, PianO has a pretty nice position. He's got a chokehold on both these bases, and he can either choose to go into the natural or the 4th base. Looks like he's going to choose the 4th base. He's going to move into this area, and now we've got all these chokes. It's much harder to actually engage in this, and there's no flank from Snow either. He's going to be relying entirely on carrier micro and just trying to snipe as many tanks as possible. I'm not sure that this is the absolute best way that this could have been played. Still, there aren't really a lot of tanks left over, and these carriers have done their job of forcing out a lot of Goliaths and killing off a lot of tanks. So as long as he can get a decent flank with gateway units, he can actually just crush this. But he's got to go now. He's allowing PianO to actually just push directly into this 3rd base, and even though there are quite a few Zealots, they need to get on top of these units. Are they going to be able to crush it? It seems like there are just way too many Zealots for this army to handle, and all the Goliaths having to attack the Interceptors, they're just going to get completely wrecked by all these Zealots. This is the power of the carriers. Not necessarily that they counter tanks or anything like that, but they force out Goliaths, and then you just make a bunch of Zealots and kill off all the Goliaths. I think that was really good overall, but I honestly feel like Snow could have pulled the trigger a lot earlier and kills his opponent in the center of the map where it's very open. It's very strange that he waited until PianO was all the way into his 3rd base to actually go. And behind this, PianO's been able to take a 4th. This is actually really starting to look decent for PianO, despite losing so much in the early game. He's actually in a position where he might actually be able to overcome this deficit, but the problem is he still doesn't have a lot of tanks, and he's relying very heavily on having a ton of these Goliaths. And as long as the tech switches keep up from the Protoss, as long as he switches very nicely between the Zealots and the Dragoons, he's going to be in pretty good shape. But, oh my gosh, just so many interceptors coming out. And at what point do carriers just get completely out of control? I would say 7 or 8 is a pretty good number for this to get out of control. Even a couple of Reavers coming down, they're going to be able to kill off these Goliaths even faster. And despite having a pretty good engagement there, PianO's not going to be able to hold right now. He's going to lose all of these units over here. And the 4th is going to go down for sure as long as Snow focuses it. There's the GG. Snow doing really well, doing his job as the PvP sniper of the team.